Okay, people, I'm going to do a little something, well, I don't know if it's different, but I'm going to do a little disclaimer here, but I also want to talk a little bit about shadow banning. Do you see that? Right, today is March 7th of 2024. It says one thumbs up, right? I've been noticing this with YouTube. We'll go into studio. Same video, the one I put up yesterday, housing corruption BC style, head in the sand. We're going to go into studio. Alright, we're going to go into content. Alright, 22 views, which is mine, last 2 clicks, because I'm going to listen to the video. Do you see how it says 2 likes here? Okay. Now we're going to go into here. Now we're going to go into here. Just to walk you through it. Okay. Right? See that? So I've done this. Okay, do you see what's going on? Now, if I leave this browser up like this for a bit, it will eventually kick into 2. But for whatever reason, YouTube has been shadow banning those as if as if it's going to make much of a difference on my channel. Right? Because they don't push out my videos. Doesn't matter what's going on. Right? We'll see this will end up more than likely at some point. See, there's this page, 1. And then you see that page, right? Let's refresh it and see what happens. Let's see if it stays. Okay. See that? It? No. Do you see what happened? That's tools. Right? Do you see what happened? If I take you back to content, going through that way, it will register 2. At some point, this will probably change to 2. But this is what YouTube's been doing. So when you come, right, you see that, you think, whatever, not that it makes much of a difference for my channel, because it doesn't, because I get shadow banned all the way around. Okay, you can see it says right here, 1 thumb. We'll go into studio, right? Okay, walk you through it. Go to content, right? There it is. I have to move the bar down here. Okay, there it is. We'll go like this. And then you'll see it has 2. But if we go into the video, now it will read, where is it? Oops, we have to go into the video. You seen that? Just all this stupid mindfuckery with YouTube. I'm sick of it, people. Right? Bring it down. There, it's reading 1 again. Okay? They've been doing this for a while, as they still take off views whenever they want. Alright, so that's the first thing I wanted to point out. So they're still shadow banning my channel, right? Even though I'm talking about things that everybody else is talking about, they don't like me talking about it, that's for sure. I don't know why. And I guess some of the things that I brought up as talking points, I'm thinking has disturbed Deb. Because she posted a post there, you know, and she and she ended up deleting it all. Because I think she got annoyed with my stance on how I feel in regards to immigrants in general, as of late, over the last several years, mainly, right? Because, you see, if I felt like this forever, there would never have been a foundation. Because it's written into my foundation, right into my constitution, to accommodate immigrant needs on a ethnic basis, to preserve their traditions, and that type of thing, right? So that they don't have to feel like they have to give up their religions, their traditions, you know, that type of thing, in order to conform into Canadian society, right? Now, I could go into my website and specifically highlight on my constitution where I had immigrants of all kinds, didn't matter what they were in terms of their ethnicity, religions, and traditions. I don't know, I had them in mind as I was writing the Constitution to respect them as individuals, and I suppose as a collective group. However, I didn't think it was going to come back and bite me and my family in the ass, in terms of where the script flipped to where my family became the sacrifice to use and abuse and to exploit. So basically the immigrants can prosper, whether individually or as collectives. And because our politicians, I have to go like this because the camera is low, right? And because our politicians are trafficking human beings en masse into my country based on politics, spin, and personal agendas through those backroom deals that generate millions and billions of dollars that trickle into their personal portfolios so they can stack and pack that cash, you know, that bag, right? And, you know, to realize that the immigrants are in partnership with that and are ruthless in what they do once they're established in Canada, and then how they justify what they do in order to gain wealth for themselves, whether as an individual or as a collective group, with the assistance of all levels of government, whether federal, provincial, or municipal, right? And then you bring in the nonprofits that cater to certain ethnicities to help that process along, while families like mine are the reservoir, you know, something you can tap into and generate income off of, whether it's high rents, whether it's illegal organ harvesting, whether it's fentanyl sales by keeping somebody like Sierra addicted to drugs for years and years and years and years and years and years, until such time they're so damaged that the only way you can solve the problem, being that you can't pimp them anymore and exploit them anymore, and it would cost too much to try and repair the problem in terms of, you know, an adequate housing recovery program and support systems, you know, before the government or anyone connected to the government would do that for Sierra, they'd just take her out, people, and that's what they did. And then they're not satisfied with that, so they're going to capitalize with the snuff movie. Okay? I walked you through it, people, and I'll walk you through it again, so that you fully see it for yourself, that this is what our public union sector, in partnership with organized religion and other organized groups that participate in criminal activity, do. You know, murder by fentanyl and then cover up the murder and blame the victim like they did with Shimei, the medical kidnapping of Uncle John so his assets could be stolen by a senior nurse that's been employed by the government for over 40 years in a management position to go around inoculating everybody in the province that works for the healthcare system, basically, as if they want scandal around that. No, they let her do what she wanted to do with John because she had already done it with other people to facilitate that activity so that these houses in the province of British Columbia become available for sale on the market so they can come in with their housing schemes. All right. If I had more time, I'd do freedom of information applications to get the black and white on the paper in order to be able to build my own portfolio of evidence in the black and white, the written form, so that I could do one or two things with it. Well, three things. I could do a live stream, scan it, put it into a PDF file, put it up on Google Drive, Google Documents, add in a link so that if you wanted to see the quote evidence for yourself, you just click on the link. Or maybe I could do a live stream and, have those pages come up onto the video, right? So that you can see it for yourself, right? And I could collect that quote unquote evidence that's in black and white, printed form on white paper, and stack and pack it and file another lawsuit against my government for basically cornering me into homelessness people. Ultimately, at the end of the day, okay? Or, if not homelessness, then inferior living forced into inferior living accommodations that are not conducive for, quality of life. All right. Or I can gather up all that information thinking I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do with it, and then have it sitting in a box, and another box, and another box, doing nothing like I have now, a whole lot of paperwork sitting in a whole lot of boxes, because I fought for my family over a period of years, taking Fraser Health Authority, a legitimate extension of a government healthcare system, to court, as well as the province itself to court, looking for justice and restitution. Where you see a wrong, make a right. Well, we know what's going to happen there, people. We're up against either a $2 billion slush fund when it comes to the health authorities or the government, because it's under health portfolio. If I take them to court in regards to the housing situation out here, right? And I'm correlating it to what's happening in the United States of America, as all these individual states and counties, right? We have municipalities, districts in Canada. They have counties and districts in the United States. They're all Mickey Mousing around right now, trying to figure out how to accommodate the influx of migrants, immigrants, whether they're legal or illegal. It doesn't matter, because it's the same end game. And that's what I show in my videos. Although it seems to be pissing off a few people. With, I think, Deb being one of them. Because there's something that I'm saying that is striking a nerve. Because I get the feel with the fact that she deleted a thread where, based on my experiences and what I've lost because of the agenda that our governments on all levels are creating for the general population. We're not talking the overlords here, okay? We're talking about the general population. There is a very high cost for that. That comes to the common denominator of death. The death of family members where they get no justice. Just a whole lot of cover-ups as they're being capitalized financially at the highest dollar possible that's being generated through the black market and then laundered into the housing market to prop up whatever our governments are doing, not for the benefit of the general population. It doesn't matter if it's a Canadian-born person or if it's an immigrant, unless, of course, you're in that overlord category, okay? I mean, they're wanting to build 3 and 4 bedroom stack and pack buildings, call them apartments, with inferior materials, and call that quality housing for the middle class. And then subsidize it because they know that the economy is out of control and even the middle class couldn't afford it, so they have to subsidize it in order to make the program successful as they continue to target families like mine. And as families like mine disappear off the planet, nobody notices, because when you go out the door, you see a whole bunch of people walking around. So you just assume that life is normal, when in fact it's not. And a lot of it does have to relate to immigrants, and that's just a fact. Okay? So when do the immigrants take responsibility? Because obviously I hold my government 24/7 to account. That's what gets me into trouble, people. Okay? Whether I'm doing YouTube videos, whether I'm filing lawsuits, knowing that I'm up against a $2 billion slush fund with a whole bunch of crooked fucking lawyers, and it opens me up for gang stalking, it doesn't matter. I do it to hold my government to account, to hold the public union sector and the ones that are committing crimes to account, to end illegal organ harvesting in the province of British Columbia, Canada, to get our RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police, to step up and do their jobs like they used to in the good old days, compared to what they do these days in terms of covering up murder for profit, for themselves, in partnership with organized religion. If the majority is Sikh when it comes to that religion, and you can point the finger at the one that took out the organs with the turban on, that becomes a problem systemically, because it only takes one to infiltrate the temple, and it's one that teaches everybody in the temple how to do it. Well, our governments are propping it up and covering it up so that it happens time after time after time after time. But you don't notice it, though, because you're too busy blaming the fucking victims. Oh, Shimei was a closet addict. No, Shimei was hit on the head. Shimei was drugged illegally with medical fentanyl for the first 2-3 days before Julian came in and finished the job, because somebody laced her cigarettes with medical fentanyl, and that's why she was dizzy, feeling nauseated, sleepy, would pass out. It was because of the medical fentanyl. He just needed an opportunity to come back in and finish her. And he, you know, being that all it takes is, well, they were an addict. They were, you know, maybe she was celebrating going to college. It just took him to inject her with something, a little bit of cocaine mixed in with some freaking morphine, right, to suggest that she was doing a freaking speedball, and she killed herself. There was no medical fentanyl in the injection that he gave her. He killed her, and the cops knew it, and they covered it up, and they harvested her organs. And the Punjabis are involved. Point blank, period. They're the ones that can afford to buy the organs because they're the ones making maximum dollar amount on all these fucking houses that they rent out to poor people. As they're targeting their family members inside the house, mapping their blood types through schools and this and whatever else little network that they're entwined with. Pastor Granny, a Korean, South Korean, doing charity work, not being racist to any ethnicity, been doing it for years, giving people food, didn't matter, has a heart attack and dies. How convenient. All of a sudden, all her donations got sucked up by somebody else and everybody forgot about Pastor Granny. Well, I didn't. I didn't, people. I'll never forget about Pastor Granny because I'm very suspicious as to why she all of a sudden died, quote unquote, from a heart attack with no witnesses. Once she got into the hospital, everybody was locked out. But not my landlady. Hell no. She has symptoms of a heart attack and whatever. You know, she's 84 and she's doing fine now. And had open heart surgery and everything, and to, you know, make it so that she didn't die. Well, why didn't Pastor Granny get the same treatment? That's my, you know, that's what nags at me, people. Because there is preferential treatment going on out here for certain ethnic groups, and that's just a fact. I don't make the rules. I'm forced to play within the rules, and I don't even get to fucking play. I always got the whip on my back, one way or another, always on the run. Why? In my own country, all of a sudden, over the last 10, 15 freaking years, as my country is being flooded by people that either think they're better than me, don't want me to have anything because they want to have it, or are ruthless and get what they want by any means necessary, aka Dr. Barr. He wasn't born here. He was brought in on an airplane. How convenient. How he's being paid by the taxpayers to operate and take out body parts and sell them on the black market. So that his kind can go on to the next gated community, monster house after monster house after monster house after monster house, where people like Rhea get a 2-bedroom dinky little basement suite with a rotten bathroom floor that the landlords don't want to fix because they know they're going to be tearing down the house. But also, too, they like to keep their tenants in angst, in turmoil, frustrated, angry, depressed, moody. A lot of negativity because you go into your nasty bathroom every day, month after month, year after year, and see how the fuck you feel, knowing that your landlord's not gonna fix it. Why? Why is it like that, people? Because it's like that. My neighbors over there, before they moved out, those owners, Punjabis, didn't want to fix the bathroom. They refused to fix the bathroom. When I got the little house for those 9 months or whatever it was, trying to get my daughter off the streets, everybody moved in. they were always having to fucking plunge the toilet as it was overflowing because the landlord refused to fix the fucking bathroom. Right? He didn't want to get a proper snake to go out there and snake out the pipe. So it was always flooding out to keep the people depressed. What's going on with Rhea? Landlord says, oh, yeah, we'll fix it before you move in. She gets there on the day she has to move in. It's not fixed. Well, she can't just not move in now because she's been living in a shelter for 2-3 months because of no affordable housing. Right? And so she has to move in, and she's like, are you going to, and then now that she's in there, when are you going to, well, we're not going to fix it because of city code. We can't fix it now. Well, if you can't fix it now, why didn't you tell her that before she moved in? Which was a bunch of crock. They never intended to fix it because that's what they do with their tenants. Not all of them, but many of them. It's a pattern. And that's what happens. You don't know until you move in what the fuck is wrong with the house. Just like when I moved into this house. All the electrical outlets were sparking. Every single electrical outlet was sparking in this house. Once I moved my family in and everybody started plugging shit into the fucking outlets and turning on whatever it was. And I freaked out, man. But for me, I had to start moving wall units and everything because I plugged in my power bars, right, got everything ready, and put my wall units up, filled up my wall units. Okay, I had something like 20 days to go back and forth with my son, put up a wall unit here, whatever, just so that when the big move came, things were kind of situated and ready to go. So, you know, the big move comes, everybody moves in, and I'm going to now use my power bar. I plug something into the power bar, you know, it's sparking, or I plug something into that fucking outlet over there up by the kitchen sink or kitchen counter. It's sparking, you know, right? My landlord had to change every single plug in this house, upstairs and downstairs. And even downstairs, when it came time to do downstairs, the person that quote unquote did it didn't fucking do it because, right? And then I had to phone back and say, look, they're not, whatever he didn't do them. They need to be done properly because they're still fucking sparking. Why, people? Why? As a landlord, why would you want your tenants to be constantly upset? Why would you want your tenants to constantly be angry? Why would you want your tenants to constantly be fearful and afraid? Whip on my back. Whatever. I've had the whip on my back because of this yard for so long that it's constantly there. Part of that whip is like infused into my skin. Literally. Psychologically. Because that was one way to put terror into me, to force me out into a housing market where these individuals get rich off of. I don't make the rules. I just try and play by the rules. And I don't even get to play. I'm more like the slave out in the field with the whip on the back. Well, I see my kids slowly but surely die off for one reason or another. Or they're facing homelessness themselves. Well, everybody around me doesn't want to lift a finger to make it better for everybody because they're too busy making it better, basically, just for themselves and their quote-unquote ethnic group. And with that said, what's going on in the United States of America and the target group that's ending up out on the streets, whether they're the poorest of the poor with mental health issues and addictions and all that crap, or whether they're thank you anytime you find them, because I'm always losing them, the working poor or the middle class living in their RVs now, right? You don't see, I'm telling you, if you can find it, please provide me a link. Show me where the Punjabis, the Sikhs, the Chinese are living on a highway or anywhere in the United States of America in their RVs, in their campers, in their little cars, and in their tents. You won't find it. But don't tell me you don't have those types of individuals living in the United States of America, because you do. Just like we have them out here. The difference between the United States and Canada is our demographics. Brown people, Muslims, Chinese, and Punjabis, and Hindus, and that type of thing, they're the majority now. And if they're not, because of the baby boomers coming in with their, the elderly over the next 10, 15 years, the elderly homeowners, the homes that these immigrants want, well, they're on their last legs. A bunch of old white people. Who needs them? They don't want the old white people. It costs too much money to, give them their pension plans and all this other shit, right? It costs too much money in healthcare to look after them. What they want is their houses. That's what they want, people.
I'm done cleaning up the living room, okay?
Yeah, you keep working in there.
I'm already done. There's nowhere else to put nothing.
Yeah.
There's just one big open area. So.
Anyway. I'm talking on a larger circumference in terms of, I don't know, what's going on and who's doing it, how they're doing it, and why they're doing it. I'm not talking about if I go out and I meet somebody and they happen to be brown in whatever capacity when it comes to an ethnic heritage or religion. I don't sit up there or think to myself, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. I don't, trust this, I don't, whatever. I deal with the person as an individual. My guard is not up. My guard is not up. I'm not trying to judge anybody. I don't, right? If anything, I'm more apt to give however I can give. But when I get into this mode and my back's to the corner and it's already scarred up with that whip infused into it, and I can see that I'm still faced with the same issues, but only with more urgency now because the governments are adding in more pressure to build more buildings to accommodate the problems that they create. Like, well, sure, we'll just house 10,000 Syrians in 2016 into the city of Surrey, but before we do that, we have to flush out the basement suites. We have to flush out some apartments. We have to flush out some houses, because that's the only place they can put those 10,000 Syrians coming in off the fucking airplane. And then to find out, it was actually in 2000 and 18 or 19. I got the little house in 2018. This place was running. So by 2019, that's when they shut down the shack. It was about 2019. And then that's when the Syrians moved in. And I was really surprised because they had already brought in 10,000 Syrians. I'm pretty sure it was 2016. So in other words, they never stopped. They never stopped. They brought in the first initial 10,000 Syrians, and then all of a sudden we had this huge explosion of homeless people out on the streets, up by the strip, and everybody was living out there in tents. Sierra coming to my house with a big burn, have video of that I'm sure, with a big burn on her leg for going into a tent and then having a kerosene lamp or something spill on her leg, and her leg got caught on fire to where she had a big ass fucking burn like this. And I'm all panicky. But that's okay. That's okay for Sierra, but not for the Syrians. No. Mission was accomplished. Because whatever fucking tent Sierra was in at that time when that shit happened, I'm sure it used to live in a basement suite, or perhaps lived in an apartment, or perhaps even lived in a house, but was forced out because of whatever, by crooked landlords, knowing that the Syrians were coming in, and they'd be able to jack up the rent because the government made it so, with their subsidies, that they could afford to pay the rent. So that put more incentive on the landlords, homeowners, to kick out more people to accommodate the immigrant fucking whatever. So, when Deb said, oh, these people coming into the United States, you know, they leave war, their families being murdered, economical collapse, yada yada yada, which I understand and I respect, but as they leave that, they basically have brought it to me and my family and families like mine. They brought war to me. They war with me, only it's a soft kill war. And even if and I'm going to end it on this, okay, because I'm not going to go around in fucking circles with this stupid shit. I looked on here looking for that third video that I was going to talk about the housing crises, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, I can't find it, so we're just going to let it slide. Okay? And then when I'm up to talking about the housing crises, hopefully Rio will send me a video so I can insert it so that you can see for yourself exactly how it works. Because you know it's coming to America if it's just not already there. But as a matter of fact, it is, because Moments with Us, some woman sitting up in Philadelphia or someplace like that talks about food shortages and all this other shit. You know, she panning before she walking into Walmart. The same kind of buildings are being built out in her neighborhood as the ones that are being built out here. Maybe not in every community right across the United States of America, quote unquote, yet. But it's already starting to happen. And you can definitely see it with the numbers of homeless people living in with their RVs and their campers and blah-dee-dee-da-dee-dee-da-dee-dee-da. Right? I have a headache. Because I'm living under fear constantly. Constantly. There is no peace, there is no liberty, and there is no prosperity in Canada. What it is war. This is war. And even if I went out, and that's what I wanted to say, even if I went out and did freedom of information, went to City Hall, requesting their city budgets, you know, printout of their city budgets, like fiscal yearly city budgets, even if I went online, you know, printing out the fucking provincial budget and then sitting there reading this shit with a magnifying glass and freaking, you know, whatever with a blaring light on it, and then highlighting this, highlighting, and then coming back and doing a video talking about, oh, well, the government's spending money here, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, this is this, and explain it to you, walk it fucking through you, crunch the numbers to prove whatever it is that I'm quote-unquote trying to prove, and then take that information, being that I did the research, and then file another lawsuit, right, just for the principle of it, because that's all it ever is, because you know you're not going to get no justice. It's going to mean nothing because the government doesn't follow its own legislation. It only follows its legislation when it wants to, for it to benefit itself, its workers. But if they break the legislation, the rules, the mandates, the laws, whatever, Criminal Code of Canada, they completely ignore it, they hide it, they bury it. I've already proven that with my videos, with my lawsuit, and the whole 9 yards. So it wouldn't matter what I did in order to try and prevent myself from exaggerating the fact that I'm facing homelessness. Oh, you won't face homelessness. You're blind. Don't worry. The government will look after you. They'll put you in an old folks' home. You got your son. Yeah, you and your son can go rent a dinky little 2-bedroom fucking broken down bungalow that's going to be tore down, and you're back on that bag. We're not fixing it because we're tearing down the house. The house is being torn down because the property developers are moving in and buying it and going to build a nice beautiful building with plastic pipes and metal clamps. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've been listening to that 14 fucking years. Right? Do you honestly think I want to move into another broken down house to listen to that for another fucking 14 years? Arguing to fix the bathroom floor as it's rotting out right underneath my feet? Being told I should put a fucking rug on it? Well, if you don't like it, you can move. You can take it as is. I'm not fixing anything. You want it fixed, you pay for it. Yeah. If my son was taking out displaced anger on me before, under those circumstances, you know he's going to take it out on me even more. And why? Because it's something that I'm doing wrong, or maybe something that the landlords are doing wrong. And then when the house gets time to demolish it down, because that's what it's about, they just kick you out, people. They don't care where you go. They accuse you of being lazy. They accuse you of not wanting to work. They accuse you of making bad choices in life and that you did it to yourself and you deserved what you got. So that they don't have to take any responsibility, regardless whether it's the fucking Chinese, the Muslims, the Punjabis, Hindus, people from India, the Catholics, the fine white person, Eleanor Gilding, in senior positions within the Parliament building when it comes to a paycheck. So I don't think I'm exaggerating. Because there's nothing to go to that's safe. That's safe. How do I take the government to court for that, to prove that point? Even if I was to print out, gather the numbers, stack and pack the paper, photocopy it in triplets, file a lawsuit, you know they're just going to throw it out of court, people. Just like they do when they're covering up illegal organ harvesting. I know the Punjabis are involved. I know it. I live it. I know who's around me. I know what works in our healthcare system. But they'll never take responsibility for it. But just because they don't want to take responsibility for it doesn't mean that I am required to stay quiet and not talk about it. And to protect their feelings. Because they're not all like that. So therefore, they're not all like that. So therefore, I shouldn't talk about it. Well, no. Because then it really becomes an infestation, and it's already an infestation within their freaking temples. All you have to do is go to their gated community to see how wide and far the infestation is. I can take you to Richmond and I can show you how wide and far the infestation is with the Chinese. Because Richmond is more Chinese ethnic, right? So you know that shit's happening out in Richmond in those hospitals where there is more than likely more Chinese doctors, nurses, whatever, with a few Eleanor Gildings running around for diversity. The scripts have been flipped. It used to be white people running around with a few minority groups to provide diversity to the workforce. Now it's completely flipped. It's all immigrants to one degree or another with a few white people in there to provide diversity. The only thing is, I don't ever remember. I mean, I'm going to end it on this because I got a headache and I got things I got to do. And I'm so depressed with it all that you don't even know. You know, I'm 62. Oh yeah, Tucker Carlson is up on here talking about people dying from the inoculations, yada 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 yada, and I'm thinking, why is YouTube allowing him to keep that video up? Because he's being point blank, from what I can tell at this point. Interesting how my videos get taken down for a few choice words, but Tucker Carlson can yada 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 with somebody else going yada 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 10 times, 100 times worse than anything I ever said. But the point, when I was younger, I mean, in those days, the majority was Caucasian, with the minorities coming into Canada. I'm not saying that institutional racism never existed, because it did. I do believe that institutional racism, to one degree or another, is still ingrained into politics for the purpose of, like, you know, when they lured Sierra to her death, right? I do believe it was some sort of satanic fucking ritual that was going on between whatever was in there, just by the sheer fact of that rope hanging off the tree as I was driving up to the property. And I said to my son, look at that rope. Like, that's kind of odd, don't you think? Yeah, well, not if you're into that kind of stuff when it comes to lynching black people. I'm just saying. Okay? Institutional racism can come in all forms. Whether it's subliminal, with the rope in the tree, and what they did with Sierra and those shenanigans, or whether it's written right into legislation, or what manufactured poverty, the targeting of certain ethnic groups, blah, blah, blah. But I don't, whatever institutional racism existed 40 years ago, we'll say, with a more majority of a white Caucasian, with the Caucasian population in comparison to the minority population, I don't believe or think or can recall where the minorities were hunted in the community, first of all, for their fucking body parts. That's a big one. Okay? Or for snuff movies, or for that psychological feeding off of negative energy to keep them fearful to even move forward in their lives, so that their spirits got completely broken to where they became, I guess you could say, homeless and destitute, just so that the Caucasians could stay in power. I'm just saying. It wasn't like that. I'm not saying institution, racism, all that didn't exist, because it did. But it never stopped the minority groups from establishing themselves building their own homes eventually, right? You know, right? Becoming homeowners, becoming like landlords, and starting businesses, and, you know, prospering within their ethnic group people. Well, now it's the other way around. I go out into the world and I'm faced with a bunch of racist people that don't want me here. Basically. Don't want my kids here, and if they want us here, they only want us here for a little while until they can set up the fucking appointment with the doctor to have our organs removed so they can capitalize off of that and then funnel it into more fucking housing schemes or whatever, so that they can fucking get rich. And then brag between themselves as they're scoping around for the next fucking victims so they can get richer. And that's what's happening. And I'm not going to make apologies for it. I'm living proof. My family is living proof of this. They just didn't expect me to talk about it. Fight back. Stand my ground. So, Deb, when you take away fucking comments because you don't necessarily agree with the way I see things, because you want me to kiss the immigrants' fucking ass, because they came from a poor country, they can't do this, they can't, they're under attack, you know, blah, blah. Well, you know what? They come to my country and they bring their garbage shit to it. And then they expect me to be treated like they were before they left their fucking country. As the governments, federal, provincial, and municipal, help them to do it. I know I'm never going to get Shimei back. I know I'm never going to get Sierra back. I know I'm never going to get Uncle John back. I'm never going to get any restitution where to make a wrong right. I know that. But I'm also not going to be some stupid sucker sitting there and ignoring what happened just so that I can conform to a fucking community that sees me as a pest because I can't afford what it is that they want from me. I don't need to buy their love. I don't need to buy their love. And I sure in the hell don't need to prove my love to them. Because if I didn't love them, and I'm going to leave it on this note, if I didn't love them, I would never have written them into the Constitution that I created in 1999, 2000, 2001, with them at the top of my mind thinking, how could I treat each and every one of them fairly within a mosh podge of all this ethnic diversity to which my government was bringing to my country. And I wrote it into my Constitution. So I don't have to prove that I love them. But I know they don't love me, or my family, or anything that we represent. Because they're too busy in love with themselves, trying to gain wealth for themselves, hoping that people will love them for the wealth that they hold. But they're only looking for a certain kind of love. They don't care about my love. Because in essence, they see us as, like me and my family, like animals. And there's a fine line between loving a human and loving an animal. And anything that they're building these days, they're wiping out the animals. Because you're not allowed pets. Far and few in between. So what does that tell you? Right? Anyway, that's all I gotta say. I'm just going to end it on that. There is no part 3 to the housing crisis because I can't find the video that I was looking for whatever reason. And really, I'm not up for it. No.